The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Hongbin Jeong. Starting tomorrow, airport workers at 15 major airports across South Korea, including Incheon and Gimpo, are set to launch a nationwide strike that could last until October 9th, right through the busy Chuseok holiday period. This strike comes amid long-standing concerns over worker fatigue, health and safety issues, and demands for better shift schedules. Authorities and airlines are warning of potential flight delays, cancellations, and disruptions that could affect millions of travelers. So how large is this strike expected to be, and what kind of disruptions might it cause for travelers? Well, joining us today to share more is Dr. Oh Sun, who is the Principal Advisor at Pacific Research Center for Malaysia and Senior Fellow at Singapore Institute of International Affairs. Hi, Dr. Oh. Welcome to the show.
Well, nice talking to all of you. Very good to be on the show again.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Dr. Oh, starting tomorrow, airport workers at several major airports, including Incheon and Gimpo, they're launching a nationwide strike, and it will be lasting about until October 9th. How big is this strike expected to? Has something to this extent happened before?
Well, I think there will be tens of thousands of mainly, shall we call them the backroom workers of various airports in South Korea who will go on strike. Although the airports are not closed down as a result of these strikes because supposedly aircrafts could still take off and land. But because, for example, they handle the various, I would imagine, luggage and various maintenance of these airports, therefore, it's going to create a lot of delays and inconvenience for the travelers who are coming in and out of South Korea. So as such, it's going to be quite a big deal, in fact. And as far as I could recall, there was no such strikes by airport workers before. But of course, Korea, it's a country whereby the labor unions, they will play very big roles in the country's social economy. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I've heard several, airport strikes over in the UK, but not in South Korea. So
that's right.
It seems that workers are demanding changes to the current 3 teams, 2 shift system, advocating a move to a 4 teams, 2 shifts system to allow more rest after night shifts. Why are airport workers resorting to a strike, though, and what specific demands are they making?
Well, as you would know, Korea has quite a workaholic culture. I could still remember whenever I go to Korea and I ask my friends them out for dinner, the dinner time is typically 9 o'clock because they get off work at 8, right? And then sometimes after dinner, they will still go back to work at, let's say, 11, close to midnight. But for all these airport workers, of course, airports deals with airplanes, right? And therefore, safety, it's indeed the number one priority, both for the passengers as well as for the workers themselves. And well, according to what we have now, apparently this sort of very intensive shift management, it would get these workers to be extremely tired after their various what we call consecutive shifts, right? Therefore, I think they are demanding that they get more rest times in between their shifts, and hopefully they will improve both their own health as well as the safety of passengers concerned. So I think let's see how the authorities would, whether they will accede to the demands of these workers. Yeah.
I mean, they also cite long-term health and safety concerns due to fatigue, as you mentioned there. So how serious are these health and safety issues for the airport workers at the moment?
Well, if you have overtired workers, especially working in a high-stress environment such as an airport, and for example, some of these workers, they deal with runway maintenance. You could imagine those of us who went to Incheon Airport and so on, it's like landing and taking off every few minutes, right? And these runways would need a lot of maintenance because you need a very smooth runway. And therefore, if we have overtired workers, workers, that could trigger some safety concerns because you cannot have undulating runways, right, for example. So in that sense, I think it's critical that they hire and train more workers in order to better facilitate the safety and health concerns of both the workers and the passengers. Yeah.
I mean, the timing of the strike is right through the busy Chuseok holiday period as well, where millions are expected to travel. Was this timing premeditated? I mean, does this maximize the pressure on authorities?
Well, I'm pretty sure that it is, of course, premeditated. If you look at airport and, shall we say, train strikes from other jurisdictions, the United Kingdom come prominently to mind. Of course, they typically choose, in the UK, for example, the Christmas holidays and so on, to institute such strikes in order to have the maximum impact and effect and to, of course, raise awareness of their demands. So while the airports concerned are not closed down, will not be closed down, I think a lot of travelers should expect very long periods of delays during these strikes, unless, of course, these strikes are averted by the authorities acceding to some of their demands. Yeah.
Analysts predict flight delays of up to 8 hours, cancellations and congestion at airports as well, especially with over 60% of union members expected to participate. So, Dr. O, what kind of travel disruptions can passengers realistically expect during this period?
Well, I think you see, as travelers typically will still go to the airport at originally allocated time frame, right? And then you have to spend a long period of time waiting at the airport. Shall we say the good news is apparently the airport shops will still be open, right? I mean, the workers in those shops, they will still go to work. So you would have to do a lot of airport shopping then in that sense. Well, I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but of course, when you have workers who are dealing with infrastructures, who are dealing with maintenance, especially in airports, and they are going on strikes, you should definitely expect a lot of delays here.
Okay. I mean, tourism is a key contributor to South Korea's economy, and disruptions during a major holiday could deter tourists and affect businesses dependent on travel spending. Could the strike have a significant impact on tourism and, by extension, South Korea's economy, Dr. O?
Well, I think experience again from other jurisdiction would be, of course, in the short term, it's going to have a huge impact, right? I mean, travelers can't arrive on time for their holiday destinations, and then before you know it, the holiday is over, right? So in the short term, of course, you have huge impacts. But in the longer terms, if say the working conditions improve, and then the touristic attractions are still there, typically it would go back to the nicer period of time. Yeah.
Airlines and travel authorities, I believe they're advising travelers to check schedules, frequently and be prepared for delays or cancellations. So, Dr. O, should travelers consider postponing trips to South Korea then? Or are there precautions that can, take to minimize the impact?
Well, of course, it's easier said than done, right? Typically, travelers would make their plans, especially if it involves a whole family going out together. They would, ahead of time, make traveling arrangements, and it's rather difficult to cancel at the last moment. It's, shall we say, a very different kind of experience. I mean, I personally experienced strikes in train strikes in Europe before, and indeed it's quite a hassle. You would need to make alternative travel arrangements. Yeah, I mean for the same period of time.
Definitely. So overall then, how have authorities since responded to this planned strike?
I think at this time we have not heard about the authorities either refusing or acceding to the demands of the strikers yet. But typically in such a situations, there will be intense negotiations between the authorities, shall we say, the airport employers, as well as the workers concerned. It's what we call tripartite negotiations, and it will require, for example, the government perhaps will give some incentives. Let's say some of these airport employers, they will have to hire more employees. The government may perhaps give some either the incentives or paying part of their wages. And then, of course, these airport employers, then, they would have to indeed expand their workforce in order to accommodate, as we discussed just now, the increasing tourist arrivals in South Korea. Yeah.
Then what kind of deal would, satisfy the airport workers, you think?
Well, they were demanding to have, shall we say, more rest time between their shifts, right? I think that's a main concern. It's not so much, as I understand it, to ask for a higher pay. It's just that they need more rest time. And I think that, frankly speaking, objectively makes a lot of sense, because airport is not an ordinary working environment. It's a very high-stress environment involving a lot of safety concerns. You need your workers to be constantly on high alerts, even if they are not pilots, they are not piloting airplanes, but still to, for example, maintain good runways in between very tight flights. That's something which is extremely taxing on both your minds as well as your physical strength. So you need more rest time in between. I think that's, frankly speaking, is a very reasonable demand. Yeah.
Well, realistically, comparing to other case studies around the world where there had been airport strikes, is there a chance for the strike to end earlier than expected if a deal is met?
Well, typically it's a question of brinksmanship as well, right? Both the employees as well as the employers, they will negotiate up to, shall we say, the last few minutes before the strike commences. And if they still could not reach agreements, the strikes typically will go on for a few days until the effect is such that the employers would have to give in, although not to perhaps all the demands of the workers, but typically substantially so. Again, they are not demanding for higher pay. They are just demanding for more rest time in between their shifts. And I wouldn't say that's easier said than done, but that's not as difficult as you have to pay them a lot more.
Right,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. O, for your time and your insights today.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. That was Dr. Oe Sun, who is the Principal Advisor at Pacific Research Center of Malaysia and Senior Fellow at Singapore Institute of International Affairs. This has been The Big Story with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.